Hi, is this Jeff Zimmerman?
It is.
Hi, it's Jason Ruiz from the University of Notre Dame. How you doing?
I'm good.
Good. I want to thank you so much for taking my call.
Oh man, yeah. Sorry about the. Whatever. I've been all over the place trying to get some work done, so that's my excuse for being an airhead and not responding to you way earlier. Sorry about that.
No. I totally get it. We're the ones stalking you. So, but
No
thank you
problem.
for making the time. If you don't mind, I'd love to ask you some questions. As you know, we're researching the murals of Pilsen, and we're trying to get kind of some information out into the world for students or scholars who are interested in researching the neighborhood, looking at public art in the neighborhood. And of course, you're high on our list of people we want to talk to. So,
Great.
I have some questions prepared. I don't know what kind of time you have, so can you just give me a time limit and I'll keep to that?
20 minutes.
All right. I
Is
want
that
to.
enough?
Hopefully, yes. I might
Let's
beg.
go for it. I got to get my kids from school. So.
Understood. Then, if you don't mind, I'll be super quick and I'll ask. Can you tell us a little bit about how you started working in Pilsen?
Okay. After college, I was a volunteer in South America,
Mm-hmm.
and I learned Spanish. And I was 3 years in Peru. When I came back to Chicago, and a friend of mine was volunteering in Pilsen, and they needed an art teacher.
Mm-hmm.
And I was kind of artsy because I studied graphic design. And so I wanted to continue to work with kids and volunteer and stuff. So I became the art teacher there through the Art Institute, actually, at a place called the Casa Juan Diego, which is still there over on Blue Island.
Yeah.
And just one day, the pastor at the time was a guy named Chuck Dom at St. Pius.
Yeah.
Everybody seems to know him. He just stopped me and he said, "Come with me," and he pointed to that there's a version of Guadalupe mural there now,
Yeah.
that building, and he said, "I can't find anyone to paint a mural. We want to do a mural. Can you paint a mural? We want to see about the version of Guadalupe." And I said, "Sure thing." And, just because it sounded fun. And so I went and took a painting class at Columbia College that winter. And someone also showed me a flyer that the Chicago Public Art Group had left somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
So I took a painting class in the winter, and then in the spring I called up the Chicago Public Art Group and I said, "How the hell do you paint a mural?" And they were real nice about it and told me, call Gilco Scaffolding. Here, you want to get the acrylic paint. And, I'd never painted before until the Columbia College. And so the Chicago Public Art Group really showed me how to, I didn't even know a fucking primer. You got to get primer and this and that and stuff like that and scaffolding and stuff. We built up scaffolding on the roof of the laundromat there, which is
Yeah.
right below it.
Yeah.
And, I haven't done that since, but that was a giant construction of, it was cool, but it's, nowadays everyone used to do a swing stage or some sort of a motorized lift. But yeah, so then I showed up and, I kind of had some meetings with Father Chuck and just a bunch of locals that I don't know how he recruited them. And they came up with these ideas of, what they're about. And they wanted it to be about integration and the immigrant experience.
Yeah.
And, then I said, all right, well, can you guys pose for me? Because I need some references to work with. And just kind of figured it out. And that's been my method ever since. Whenever I do a mural now, I just kind of look around for people who are standing there and get them to pose for me. And then I use their likeness in the mural. So that was the first one there. That was the version of Guadalupe, and that was 1996.
Yeah.
And then, then the next mural I did down in Pilsen, and then I started doing murals on my own after that summer. It took 3 months to do that one section. I just didn't know what I was doing. And then the other two sections going west, the middle panel and the panel by the alley,
Yeah.
We did in 2001. So those, and that was the same thing. We wanted it to be it's kind of let's make the middle section kind of be about people who've recently arrived, and so those are all kind of brand new, off the bus Mexican immigrants. And then the third panel was, what do we look like after we've then kind of established ourselves in Chicago.
You mentioned the massive scale of this work. Can you tell me about sort of why it's so huge, how you got there, how you landed on something so kind of monumental?
What do you? I mean, that was the canvas. Just saw the truck, said, I want to paint that building. Or what do you mean? I don't know what you mean.
It's so big. I just want to know how it got that way. So.
Oh, I mean, I think, you walk out of the front door of the church and you look to the right, and there were just, it was just calling for, all those other guys, Marcos Raya and, all those other guys had been doing murals in the neighborhood, and it's a very Mexican thing, so we were just calling them, let's get a mural over there so we can come out of the church every day, and instead of looking at that crappy wall, let's give us all something to look at. So, I mean, that was the first offer that I had. It wasn't, let's start small. It was, there's that wall, figure it out, and I figured it out. And
incredible.
The second two panels are much better than the first, you'll notice, because I learned how to paint from between 1996 and 2001. And even the funny thing you should include in there is if you go and look, the second two panels that I did later are peeling and the bricks are popping off and stuff, but the version of Guadalupe looks pretty much exactly the same. And so the nuns love saying, look at that. See?
Something miraculous going on there.
They love saying that. They're like, but you'll notice the version of Guadalupe panel is perfect. They love it. They love it. And I always tell that. I just told it to you. I love sharing that story too. So, I mean, it is interesting.
We will pass that along.
Pass it along. It's funny.
So after that piece, you start branching out into the neighborhood. I mean, you're kind of in several places in Pilsen. So you're working, it looks like, still with the church on some pieces and then without the church on others. Is that right?
Yeah, I did. Out of the neighborhood in Little Village, I ended up painting. There's an El Milagro right by 26th and Albion over there.
Yeah, I love that piece.
By the prison.
Mm-hmm.
But that was a connection. They went to St. Pius, so they found me through St. Pius. And the same. I don't even have any. So then there's the one we just talked about. There was one across the street in a parking lot that was about the family.
Yeah.
And we did that in probably 2002, but that's gone now because they put windows on that building. There's the one for the school, which is right around the corner on Cullerton.
Yeah. About
teachers and kids, and there's this, water coming down and this cleansing a new life idea. And then there's some real crappy ones in the parking lot. One is of Father Chuck holding up a baby, and then some kids.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even show people those was. You just saw it. There was nothing worked. The pictures didn't work. The weather didn't cooperate. The scaffolding was donated, so it was super scary and wobbly, and those things didn't even turn out. But the mural in the parking lot's gone, and then El Milagro is still there. But the only other mural I had in Pilsen, I'm trying to remember if I had any more.
Is on the tortilla factory, you had, I think it's called
right.
Freedom.
Yeah, Freedom, Religion, and Commerce, but that's gone. They painted over that.
One question that we're facing in working on this project is how do we cope with stuff that's beautiful and important? I'd have to say the one that about immigrant detention was one of my favorite pieces in Pilsen. Sort of from an artist point of view, can you talk us through what does it mean to lose some murals?
I mean, I've always been used to it. I had a mural over on North Avenue in Honore, and the locals tried to put up a stink. It was flattering. They tried to get it saved.
Yeah.
But, somebody bought the property and they just raised the building. In my estimation, that was nice, but I'd never in a million years thought that, what we're going to do is stop the sale of a building. And so, that happened to me real quick. I started losing my murals, some were only up for a year.
Mm-hmm.
The whole building was gone. You know, as the whole city started changing and gentrifying. So I've always been used to that. And then if, you know, something gets painted over, like there was a mural that they tried to save on Blue Island across the street from the Casa Juan Diego. I forget who it was by, but it was one of the oldest ones.
Yeah.
And who the heck did it? I can't remember who did it, but it was barely there. And there was this whole like argument amongst the old timers and the new timers and this person and that person about restoring it. You know, my opinion's always been just do something new. I mean, if it's almost gone, it's almost gone, and that's too bad. But it's made out of paint,
Yeah.
not a bronze that lasts 30,000 years before it melts. It's paint, and it's going to fade or peel, or you know, the whole building's. You know, I had a mural in Puerto Rico, and the building's gone from the hurricane.
Yikes.
So I'm just kind of used to it. So you know, if there's some that are old and that can stay, like Marcos Raya's one about war over there on the train tracks.
Yeah.
I mean, that was been there since, you know, I was in high school.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to stay because it's kind of always been there. And it just reminds me of the 70s. So, I mean, there's, you know, honestly, it's a mixed bag. Some murals just totally suck. They're just not worth saving, you know. It's just, you know, it's not that good. But if it's like one of the first ones, like Marcos's from the olden days, and it's still there, heck, let's try and make that stay forever because it's so old.
Yeah.
Or if it's really good or it really meant something or it did something, you know, okay. But if it's just sort of okay or sort of good, you know, I would just say paint something new right on top of it and just make sure that it's better than what was there before. That's like the graffiti rule, too. You know, you can paint over my bubble letters, but your bubble letters have to be better.
Yeah.
And, you know, that was the rule. And if they weren't, you just kind of did some crap, then you got a beat down. So the rule of the street was, you know, you can go over me, but, you know, when we all stand back, we must all agree that what you did was better. You know, so I don't, you know, I'm about to go paint over one of my murals downtown tomorrow. And it's my mural.
Mm-hmm.
And I just repainted my mural at Oak Street Beach in September. And I just did something new. So some people get super caught up and worried, but I'm completely the opposite. I just expect that the building's going to be sold or knocked down or, you know,
Yeah.
I don't know, whatever. I mean, I hope all my murals stay forever, but when they're gone, I don't really sweat it that much as long as I've got some good pictures. You know,
This has surprised us. I'll be totally honest. You know, talking with a lot of Pilsen artists already. You know, like that many of your colleagues agree with you on that one. But
good.
Because I'm a historian. I'm like, let's preserve everything for all time and never let anything go. And it's really changed my relationship, to the murals, to tell you the truth. Can you talk a little bit about how Pilsen?
I mean, it's also because I've had to endure like people like making a big stink about saving my mural, and I'm just a nice guy, but I wanted to like do, you know, it's not very good. It was never very good. I'll be happy to see someone paint something better there, but I bite my tongue. But I really don't know who does that. I'm trying. It's only happened to me a few times where people have really gotten. Like, you know, the one that should have been saved is that freaking William Walker over by Cabrini Green.
Yeah.
There was, if you know what I'm talking about, there was a little church there.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a total shame. I mean, that talked about the time, and that was, you know, was a place and a moment, and referred to the moment, and referred to what it was about, and the neighborhood, and the changed neighborhood, and all that stuff, and it was, that guy's, you know, passed on, and
Yeah.
that pissed me off. So there's one right there that really pissed me off. So. But, yeah, well, I'm actually happy to hear that more people sort of agree with what I'm saying.
I mean, that's kind of been the consensus, and like I say, it surprises us. We're also interested in kind of how Pilsen has changed, is changing right now. I know you're a Chicago native. I don't think you grew up in Pilsen that I know of, but maybe you can tell me a little bit about changes you've observed and kind of your take on that.
I went to St. Ignatius High School, but I grew up in the suburbs. But I spent my high school years in the 80s in the city.
Yeah.
And I had a friend who lived in Pilsen. He used to have parties. His mom was cool and let him have kegs. So I spent a little bit of time in, the mid 80s in Pilsen, so I knew about it, and I saw the murals there. I was not an artist back then, but I used to do good caricatures of the teachers and stuff, but I had an appreciation for the murals that I saw, so I, thought there was, plus I grew up with all the graffiti guys, but I never did that. But, visually I was aware of the muraling in Pilsen, but, that was like a scary Mexican neighborhood, that we kind of didn't stray very far from the car when we went to this kid's house, and we kind of drove in and out. But it was right next to school, so it was right there. But when I arrived kind of in 96 and did my mural, it was very more Mexican feeling back then. It was a really good neighborhood. It was all like a lot of working people, but it wasn't scary. I never had any run-in with gang members or anything like that ever. I learned a good lesson. I was going to put this one kid whose name I now forget in the mural, the one that's still up there with the with the Virgin of Guadalupe, and I learned to sort of vet people because he was going to be up there kind of celebrate. Oh no, he was going to be the one across the street that's gone now. The ideal family. He was going to be representing one of the kids, and someone kind of told me maybe not, and he murdered someone the next year, and he's doing life. And I kind of learned that not, as long as it literally, I love when people aren't famous in murals. The more just regular person you are, that's what it's all about. But like, I don't want an axe murderer to be. What a bummer that'd be. Everyone walking down the street like, oh, the ideal family. Oh, except for that guy.
Yeah.
So and so, and now he's doing life. But I was, everyone was real. And I speak fluent Spanish, so I was able to hang out. But like, felt real. Like I became a part of the at least local part of Pilsen right there when I was working that first summer, and then continued to do my art classes down there, and spent like the late 90s, early 2000s, I spent kind of a lot of time in Pilsen. And, but it was really Mexican, and not a lot, but the artists all lived over by Hallstead.
Yeah.
They kind of weren't spread out like they are now, and it wasn't really an artsy neighborhood at all. It was kind of a Mexican working neighborhood, but people all appreciated artwork for sure. Everyone stopped and looked at a mural and talked about it. They didn't kind of walk by, and I kind of always liked that. People that were opinionated, and they wouldn't be afraid to tell you that's wrong or dumb or who are you, or, I like the fact that they tried. Most people were pretty complimentary, but some people didn't like that I was a white guy, honestly. But stopping and talking about the content and stuff, I really liked that. But it wasn't an artsy neighborhood, and Carlos, whatever his name is from the museum, would probably try and tell you different.
Yeah.
But I don't think so. And I think the museum actually opened right back then.
It did, yeah. I think early 2000s, yeah.
Yeah, and I never dealt with them at all, but so then, I don't know, until then I got an assistant probably in 2003 from a friend of a friend who was at the Art Institute, and he was living in Pilsen, so he was, 21 years old from Canada and living in Pilsen, so around then the students started getting involved there, and then you started seeing more wheat pasty things going up, and that's when street art, became capital S, capital A street art. When I started, it was murals and vandalism. It was graffiti and murals, period. That street art wasn't even understood, really. But in the 2000s, that started happening, and you'd start seeing different people at the Jumping Bean Cafe. And, and then I kind of fell out. I just kind of didn't do heck, less and less work there. So I kind of fell out, but I don't know, has it changed that much really even? I don't even know. I think there's a lot more like kids living there.
Yeah,
but visually it seems the same, and they've even bitching about gentrification down there since high school. So, I don't know if it's really happening. That whole UIC thing that came right up to the train tracks.
Yeah.
Wow. But, I don't know. I was just down there, 2 weeks ago. I just took a drive through there. It feels kind of the same to me.
Interesting.
But I do know there's a lot of kids down there, and I'll go to. I was with my girlfriend, and we went to some secondhand store, and like her friend from DePaul, from Lake Forest, is managing the used clothing store on 18th Street. So, it's gentrified, and there's a little more things to do and stuff. And I definitely see some like kids and white people, but it kind of feels the same to me.
You mentioned being a white guy artist. Frankly, one of the few represented, significantly on the walls in Pilsen. Like, can you tell me more about that? Or, I mean, I know you have to go soon, just so I'll make that my last question. But, like, was it ever a problem for you being, like, either an insider or an outsider there?
The Mexicans, the very English, who were like newer arrivals to Pilsen, were always, that wasn't ever a thing. They never noticed. But the sort of Chicano, more American Mexicans from Pilsen, and that's another thing. My uncle lived in Pilsen. They used to be a Czech neighborhood back in the 40s.
How it got its name.
I've always wanted, it's changed. It used to be, my grandpa, when he came and visited me when I was painting a mural, I was like, this was a black neighborhood here, and then this is Italian, actually. And then the Irish lived over here, and then your uncle lived over there, and then Czechs. That neighborhood changed a zillion times in, the past 100 years. But the sort of Chicanos from the neighborhood, there was, I'm not going to mention any names, but some art leaders kind of didn't like me and just kind of badmouthed me, and I think it was because I was the white guy painting the biggest mural on Ashland Avenue in the neighborhood, and I blatantly, from the water cooler,
Mm-hmm.
I heard that, so-and-so and that guy were kind of anti-me, and one time funny story, I was painting a mural, and my friend Eddie Alvarado was helping me. He wasn't the best painter, but he could fill in a big shape with color and stuff. And some dude, total Pilsen, older than me, artist, Chicano, came walking up and was like, bro, calling to Eddie, and he's like, what's up with the fucking white boy? And he's like, what? He's like, what's up with the fucking white boy? And then he looks at me and goes, no disrespect. He's like, you shouldn't, this guy shouldn't be up here. This is for us, and da-da-da. And we just kind of let him go. And I want to be like, this is my mural. I'm not working for him. He's working for me.
Yeah.
So there was a few incidents and a few influential people literally didn't like that. They never said it to my face. But that the white boy was painting Mexican people. Man, it's like empathy, I don't know. I mean, can I include a woman in my mural? I mean, I don't show up and paint what I believe. I sit people down in Pilsen, and they tell me what they're thinking, and I regurgitate that visually and paint that on the wall.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to tell anybody what they're about. They're telling me, and I'm just making it visual. So the fact, and then those are the actual people who told me about it that are up there on the wall. But so no, but I would say that if there was any animosity, it was from Chicanos, and there was zero from like real Mexican newcomer types who, seriously, they never noticed. But it wasn't a lot. It was, I was like right there, I was digging to give you something to make some anecdotes for you.
I hear you.
It wasn't much.
I hear you. If we were looking for like archival sources, I know this is a long shot, but would we be able to find archival sources related to any of your work in Pilsen?
What is an archival? What does that mean, archival source?
Sketches, proposals, contracts, anything that would say, that would help us sort of anything we could digitize, frankly, we've gotten a ton of archival stuff from the Chicago Public Art Group, for example, including like old slides, old sketches, old pictures, snapshots, of works in progress.
Yeah, I've got all that stuff. I've got back when there's actually on my website, my original website, I think you can still go see an Art Beat Chicago,
mm-hmm.
which was a TV show on Chicago Tonight.
Yeah.
And they did a story about me painting that mural with the Virgin of Guadalupe, the first
mm-hmm.
section. So
okay.
There's a video documentary walkthrough of me actually creating that mural, but Yeah, I've got all the photography and stuff, and all my transparencies and price. I've got all that stuff if you want it.
Yeah, I mean, if you'd allow us to scan the stuff, we're totally only for educational purposes. We'd love
Yeah.
to show people kind of, this is what it looks like in progress. This is what the wall looked like before. This is what it looked like when it was brand new. Could we reach out to you and maybe come with a big scanner and come find you and your
No,
stuff?
just come. You can come take it away. It's literally the manila envelope or four from the 1996 and then the 2001 revisit of it. But that'll have probably some sketches in it, pencil sketches, like old-fashioned like that with Sharpie pen.
Yeah. I mean, that's
Original
like,
photographs. Like I took back then, I would take your picture 24 times and then take it to the photo mat and then get the pictures back and look at them all and say, oh, okay, thank God this one is lit correctly and he's got a good expression. This is the one I'm going to use. Whereas now I just do it on my phone and I look and I'm like, no, that wasn't good. Let's do another one. Boom.
I mean, that stuff would be
So-
gold to us, and it would be so valuable, from a research perspective. So, if you don't mind me, hitting you up for, hey, when can I come pick up those envelopes?
Yeah, why don't you? I mean, I hope you're not in a hurry because I'm going to tell you to come in like December because tomorrow I'm starting. Like I'm leaving right now, but tomorrow I'm starting my mural, redoing my mural on Michigan Avenue.
Mhm.
That's going to take till Thanksgiving,
Oh,
and
awesome.
then I'm going out of town. But then I'm going out of town again.
Okay.
So I'm just going to be from 8 till dark, gone every single day, Saturdays and Sundays until Thanksgiving.
All right. Well, if you'll let me
Unless
come.
it rains. I mean, if it's pouring rain and you're around here,
Okay.
give me a heads up, and maybe I can just run up and dig through my files. And I mean, it's just that easy. I know where it is. It's just buried.
Where are you based now? Where's your studio?
I'm in Humboldt Park,
Humboldt Park. Okay.
so right up by California and Augusta.
Awesome.
Are you in South Bend?
I'm in South Bend, but coming to Pilsen as much as I can, and in the spring I'll be sort of staying there for a more extended period of time to kind of try to get this project.
Well, if you're not
wrapped
in a
up.
hurry, it's just that easy. I'll just, between now and whenever, next time I'm digging through stuff up there, I'll just dig until I find. I mean, do you care about El Popo and all that stuff? I mean, El Popo's gone.
Yeah, I mean,
Matter?
we want it all. Like it costs us nothing to scan it because we've got the equipment, and I'm a humanities professor, but I have a tech team that I'm working with, and they'll figure out the best way to scan stuff, the best way to get it back to you, the best way to make stuff kind of digitally available to people for us to look at and think
Yeah,
about.
well, I've got a real good one too. The Exito did a story about the second two parts of that version of Guadalupe mural.
Oh, okay.
There's a newspaper article, and I actually just found it the other day, and the cover of the newspaper is the Twin Towers being attacked.
Oh my God.
The cover of the Exito is the Twin Towers exploding, and then you open up the Exito was an old newspaper,
Yeah.
remember? And you open up to the fold-out middle, and it's all these pictures of my mural and a story about the creation of the mural.
Oh,
So
awesome.
you can have a newspaper.
That would be so amazing. I mean, really cool. So, I'll get back in touch with you in December again, if you don't mind me stalking you a little bit
Yeah,
to
no
say,
problem.
let me get my hands on this stuff, and we'll
No
scan
problem at all.
it.
Just do that, and I'll bust it out. And if you want to talk some more in December, we can talk some more. But I got to kind of go get my little boy.
I
right
hear
now.
you. I want to thank you for your time and your
problem.
generosity and everything. And I do want to talk to you more in December, so I will. I'll try.
Yeah, no, reach out to me. And I think it's cool what you're doing. So just don't be afraid. If I don't, I'm just a space cadet. Just call me back.
Awesome. Sounds great.
If I don't get back to you.
Thanks a lot.
All right, man. All right, thanks.
Awesome.
All right, talk to you soon.
Thanks so much. Bye.
Thanks.